Greetings, brothers and sisters from the four corners of the world. I hope everyone is having a blessed afternoon, evening, day in your perspective lands. Okay, so the title of this lesson is Jubilee, the promise of return. Now, that being said, last year I did a lesson, um, same time, more so in a four-part series of the celebration of new oil, which is this lesson, but I'm not going to necessarily break down the celebration of new oil. Um, for anyone wanting to know, so the celebration of new oil was technically that point where a lot of people would call um, the Feast of Dedication, Maccabees, John, so forth and so forth. All right. Um, Now, we have a lot, and I will, excuse me, I will start with this in regards to the celebration of new oil. Now, if you're looking for a very thorough breakdown of the celebration of new oil and how it goes with the scriptures and prophecy, then you would go to that previous lesson from last year, celebration of new oil. For this one, we're going to talk about the Jubilee. So, upon reading this, it's very important to understand. So, it says the celebration of new oil falls on the 83rd day of autumn. Technically, it's winter, right? And it is a day we walk with an oxen. And for anyone who's new, a no key is I am in the Hebrew. Chesed is loving kindness. So Anak said is I am loving kindness. And it is said on the second day of the week, Sunday being the first, Monday being the second. And it all depends, of course, where you are, right? And it is a Sabbath. In a sabbatical year, it is a day of release. Now, I thought this was really interesting considering that I understand what sabbatical year is. Now, a sabbatical year means the year technically, in some ways, it's technically before the Jubilee, but it kind of considers as the beginning part of the Jubilee, and we'll go over that today. Okay, so, um, and just a quick rundown as to walking with the Most High. And so these holy days, every holy day gives a measure as to what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to kind of align it. Okay, and it's pretty much the same as Leviticus, the scriptures of the holy days, but just a little bit more detail and probably giving more explanation. All right. Now, here we have celebration of new oil. And it says, our oil is blessed for the year. Now, it says, men intervene to establish a clear pathway back to Eden and loving repentance. Now, starting from just around February or March, I went over the lesson in regards to opportunity. It's almost as if the Most High, I mean, obviously, the Most High knew what he was doing, he knew the time, but for myself at the time. I didn't understand. Um, but, all his lessons work meticulously, right? They work all in detail together. So now we come to the celebration of new oil. It's all about what? Eden. And this year we've been talking about opportunity. We've been talking a lot about Isaiah 11:11, right? And the places to go. And it kind of just worked perfectly with the Most High, because that's His will, where it just so happened to be opportunity. We started the lands of salvation, and now we just recognize that it's a Jubilee year. So all of this is a part of the Most High's promise to His people, all who seek to serve Him and endure until the end. Now, I will say, and there's kind of that sigh of, disappointment because I found um, I found some information from the Vatican and I wanted to share it, but it seems like I'm only able to upload it or pull it up on the screen with a VPN. However, sometimes the VPN will mess up the lesson. So um, it's kind of unfortunate there. But um, and these were the not necessarily the basic things from the Vatican, like their nice public show website. It's more so like you had to dig for it, but you know, it's okay. We're gonna get into this. We're gonna get into the message of the Most High, and the message of the Most High here is the promise of return. Okay, so let's begin, brothers and sisters. So we're gonna start off with Josephus. We're gonna go through Josephus. We're going to go through um, the Bible. We're going to go through the Pseudographia, and we're going to go through the books of Philo, which is the book of love. So there we'll start with Josephus 35. What I'll do here is I'm going to put them on the screen together. Okay. And I'll start from portion 2 here. Okay. I'll start from portion 2 right here at the bottom because it's not much. It reads, "And when Cain had traveled over many countries, he, with his wife, built a city named Nod, which is a place so called, and there he settled his abode, where also he had children. However, he did not accept of his punishment in order to amendment, but to increase his wickedness. For he only aimed to procure everything that was for his own bodily pleasure, though it oblige him to be injurious to his neighbors." Now, a lot of people talk about the sins of Cain and really don't necessarily understand this. Obviously, he was possessed with the spirit of jealousy, right? He killed his brother. But then you see other things in detail here where one, he did not want to accept. So the spirit of Cain also is the failure to accept responsibility. That's the spirit of Cain. And the spirit of Cain also comes with always thinking about pleasure before thinking about what you're doing to another person. This is why Christ said the greatest law is to love thy neighbor, because the first sins were committed were with the intentions or with the foundation of jealousy. When you love someone, jealousy doesn't exist. You're happy for them genuinely, whether you have or not, right? So that's the spirit of Cain. It reads, he augmented his household substance with much wealth by rapine and violence. So being materialistic, needing the newest clothes, needing the newest, needing to watch the newest show or keep up with what people are talking about on Twitter or whatever the case is. With much wealth, rapine, and violence. He excited his acquaintance to procure pleasures and spoils by robbery. By robbery. And became a great leader of men in wicked courses. Quite interesting. We're seeing this spirit roam the earth, right? Robbery, rapine, violence, people wanting to be so engulfed in acquiring substances and wealth, right? It reads, he also introduced a change in that way of simplicity where men lived before, and was the author of measures and weights. So we see Cain started bartering. Cain started finances. So to compare someone by your financial measure came from Cain. So the spirit of Cain is to compare your wealth to someone else, to compare your status to someone else. Now, why may I be going over these things? It's very important that you understand, brothers and sisters, we're talking about a jubilee is the promise of return, is a promise to set you free from something. Now, you can't be set free from what you don't know. And you see all these things, it started with jealousy and the lack of acknowledgement. This is why, one, I preach acknowledgement often, as the Bible does. This is why I emphasize that you need it the most to even start to become great. And it reads, and whereas they lived innocently and generously while they knew nothing of such arts, he changed the world into cunning craftiness. So we understand when we put two and two together, he was dealing with some of the fallen because cunning craftiness was one of their expertise. He first of all set boundaries about the lands. He built a city and fortified it with walls. He compelled his family to come together to it. Now, he was the reason we have borders today. And a lot of our Gentile brothers and sisters say, oh, we're all God's people. That is true. But because of Cain, the Most High had to separate people. He had to make a nation for himself. Because then when you start isolating people and you start placing people on a pedestal, I have to now choose a group out of all you creations to show you the proper way. So that teaches our Gentile brothers and sisters. You want to know why Israel is so important? It's because Israel is supposed to bring the children of all of the Most High, the creation, back to the Father. Now, this would have never been if it wasn't for Cain doing such things. We see Abraham was not of the lineage of Israel. Noah was not of the lineage of Israel. Melchizedek, Enoch, none of them were of the children of Israel. But because the wickedness grew so much, the Most High said, I have to now segregate creation one from another. And so he called that city Enoch after the name of his eldest son Enoch. Now Jared was the son of Enoch, whose son Malel, whose son was Methuselah, whose son was Lamech. Now, for those of you who follow me in the New Heaven and New Earth lessons, you see that the books of remembrance were literally taken from Josephus. And Josephus has a lot more um, than what was in the books of remembrance. I would say the Josephus is like a comparison between the books of remembrance and Maccabees, but Josephus is like times 4,000 of what you see in Maccabees. You want to know perfect history of what happened in Maccabees, the details. I'm talking banks. I'm talking banking systems. I'm talking about how they would, unalive one another, how they would lure people, what exactly the soldiers would do going door to door, how they closed in the priests and the men of the Most High in the churches and temples and burned them alive. This is all in Josephus, detail by detail. Something, like I said, Maccabees gives a good understanding, but there is no greater detail than the book of Josephus. Moving forward, it said Lamech, who had 77 children by 2 wives, Selah and Adah. And we know Adah as to what? Adah was one of the foremothers, right? So now in the books of remembrance. So now this is starting to make a little bit of sense here. That's why I tell brothers and sisters, I tell you all, make sure you read before you say things. Now, that's how I understood that the books of remembrance were correct, because I had read the Josephus. Yeah. Okay, so making those correlations, it wasn't just some book that I just picked up. At first, I hesitated. The Most High was like, okay, just buy one, check it out. And then I'm like, okay, here's the correlations. Wow, boom. Now, moving forward. Of those children by Adah, one was Jabal. He erected tents and loved the life of a shepherd. But Jubal, who was born of the same mother with him, exercised himself in music and invented the psaltery, and the harp. So, that very beautiful tune that David is known for, that came from Jubal. Jabal and Jubal. But Tubal, one of his children by the other wife, exceeded all men in strength and was very expert and famous in martial performances. He procured what tended to pleasures of the body by that method, and first of all invented the art of making brass. Lamech also, the father of a daughter whose name was Naamah, and because he was so skillful in matters of divine revelation that he knew he was to be punished for Cain's murder of his brother, he made that known to his wives. And so you kind of see that it's literally giving you what we learned in the books of remembrance, okay? Now, in the book of Josephus, you see this footnote here. I want you guys to take a look at this footnote. It says, from this Jubal not improperly came Jobel, which is the trumpet of Jobel or Jubilee, that large or loud musical instrument used in proclaiming the liberty at the year of the Jubilee. So you may ask once again, why is understanding Jabal and Jubal important? Two things. One was a shepherd. The other loved music. Both of those sons, both of those sons, both of those sons were the pillar of the greatest people in the scriptures. So now, check this out now. Christ is the ultimate shepherd, right? Everything that us ministers are supposed to do, we're the small shepherds. He's the shepherd. He's the only shepherd. He's the head, right? That's Christ. And then David, who is the most righteous of kings of Israel, he was known for his psalms and his harp, which is psaltery. And the Most High said what? The lineage would come through David, which the lineage of which was Judah, which was known for psaltery and harp music. Now, you take this understanding, which brings us to our next scripture. And yes, we'll get to the Leviticus portion. Take this out. So we're going to go to the book of Jubilees, chapter 50. This is, I think it's volume 2. Yep. Jubilees, chapter 50. I'm going to kind of work from the last chapter and go backwards, okay? All right, this is Jubilee, chapter 50. And so I will get into the basic understanding, but I'm kind of going to work backwards here and show you, and then I'm going to show you how it pertains to our future today. So why is Jubal and Jobal and Jabal and Jubal important? So some really important things came about just from them. You have a shepherd who makes rules for the flock, and you have praise, which comes from psaltery, okay, and the harp, right? Now, with Moses, we understood came the law, the Torah, right? With David, we understand came the praises, right? The Psalms, even some of Proverbs is David, some of it is Solomon, and so forth. And it's been something that I've been trying to research because we know in the books of remembrance of Moses, Solomon took a lot of what his father David had done and claimed it for himself. So we know that some of those things are actually of David, not Solomon. Because how would Solomon have so much time to do evil and still write beautiful things about the Holy Spirit, right? But moving forward, Moses in the wilderness with the children of Israel, some Gentiles from Egypt, some Moabites, some Ammonites, some Midianites, right? They're in the wilderness. And he sits there and says, all right, Most High, I'm going to give them your rules. Here are the rules. Laws pertaining to Sabbath. So this was a big one. Obviously, we still keep these to this day. And after this law, I made you know the days of the Sabbaths in the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elam and Sinai. And I also related to you the Sabbaths of the land of Mount Sinai, and the years of Jubilee and the Sabbaths of years I related to you. So this is very important because you're going to see in this lesson that the beginning of the world was a jubilee, and so was the end of the world. So that you would understand how many jubilees would determine the return of Christ. I will show you this in this lesson. But its year I have not related to you until you enter into the land which you will possess. And the land will keep its Sabbaths when they dwell upon it, and they will know the year of the Jubilee. So if you didn't understand the Jubilee, start paying attention to the land. Start paying attention to the Most High's grass, the trees, in certain areas. So, for example, you have all over the world, four corners, you have natural disasters, you have man made disasters, you have wildfires, you have dew weapons that are burning everything up. But in the midst of that, in the very middle, you have Africa and you have Saudi. Okay. Now, there are people who say that parts of Africa are Eden, and this is true. We know Egypt, we know Sudan, all the way down Ethiopia, Eritrea, Kenya, Somalia. Now, what people don't know is, and this is you had to travel for this, that Ethiopia went so far into Africa that it almost connected to West Africa at a point. If I'm not mistaken, that was the Aksum Empire, if I'm not mistaken. And they went almost almost close to that Cameroon region. Not necessarily touching Cameroon, but they got close to it. Now, am I saying that that is Ethiopia? That's not what I'm saying. But we can look at the land. So you have if you Google the Sahara Desert, it's turning green, something it's never done. You look at the kingdom or Saudi, what they call it, which we know it as Eden, the wilderness, which is the desert there, is flowing with rivers, it's snowing, it's 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 growing pastures like they've never seen before. So the land would also know. Pay attention. Everywhere else in the world is burning, being flooded, but you have these two locations growing. You have these two locations having snow. You have these two locations flourishing. Now, it's not to say that they're perfect lands. They're not perfect until Christ's return, because they still having plagues and stuff like that. But nevertheless, check out the lands, right? So this is what Moses taught. It says the land will keep its Sabbaths when they dwell upon it, and they will know the year of Jubilee. Now, in the book of Isaiah, you may say, well, the children of Israel aren't in the lands yet. They're not all in Africa yet. They're not all in the kingdom Saudi yet. Well, remember, he said this would be a preparation state. It would be a sign for us to look at to know when those things were coming. Because some of you out there in the world are very afraid to move unless you see something. Most High understood this. Am I telling you to hang your faith on things seen? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it should give you a little bit of encouragement and then you should move forward, right? Continuing, on account of this, I ordain for you the weeks of years and the years and the jubilees as 49 jubilees from the days of Adam until this day, in in 1 week and 2 years. And they are still 40 further years to learn the commands of the Lord until they cross over the shore of the land of Canaan. Now, this is crazy to me, right? Because when I read the book of Jubilee and I sit there and say, and I hear certain people talk about, oh, we got to follow the law. Did you hear what Moses just said? It took them 40 years to learn. There's no way. There's no way it's possible. That means, do you understand what that means? That means so much was taken from the Bible that even if they gave it to you, you still wouldn't have time to learn. But the Most High made sure that we got the very important parts. Keep that in mind. This is where mercy comes from. This is why we operate in the Spirit, because you can sit there and say the law, which is true, and the law is to bring us into righteousness, but there is no end to the law. It took 40 years. You see? It took 40 years. And we know 40 years is also to be a form of completion, right? 40 days of fasting, 40, right? And it says, over the land, over the shore of the land of Canaan, crossing over the Jordan to its western side. And jubilees will pass until Israel is purified from all the sin of fornication, defilement, uncleanness, sin, and error. So now the Jubilee is also attached to Israel's sins. Shout out to all the children of Israel out there. But this is a good thing, but this is also a bad thing because the Most High had to make 7 years. In 6 years, he allowed mistakes, but that seventh year, he was like, I'm cutting it. I will prove this to you in scripture. Now, that's not to say that you were supposed to go out and backslide every time for 6 years and then the seventh year, Most High, I'm going to serve you. No, this was leniency, this was mercy. So you had to be serving the Most High. Maybe there was a time where you realize you dropped the ball in a trial and you're like, oh, Most High, my goodness, year three, I just wasn't doing so good. But, it took me 2 years to get on my feet. And now I'm at year five. And, now it's year six. And, right? So it was mercy, as in the Most High would be observing all that you went through for those 6 years. And then he would give you a decision on the seventh year as to what you earned. Kind of cool, isn't it? It reads, and they will dwell in confidence in all the land, and then it will not have any Satan or evil one, and the land will be purified from that time and forever. So the Jubilees is the Most High paying close attention to the children of Israel. Therefore, brothers and sisters, when you take these things, and I'm going to take this out, when you take these understandings that they're saying there's 29 days left to a Jubilee, that's in real time, 29 days left to the Jubilee, and that all of this pertains the children of Israel, the Most High is giving signs here. He's giving signs here. Now, is it to say that Satan won't exist if you are getting blessed in the Jubilee? No, that's not what it's saying. Because Satan will be gone at a later time forever. Satan still has some time to do what he's doing. It reads, and behold, the commandment of the Sabbaths I have written for you in all of judgments of its laws. 6 days you will work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. You shall not do any work in it, you or your children or your manservant or your maidservant or any of your cattle or the stranger who is with you. We understand the stranger is Gentile. And let the man who does anything on it die. Every man who will profane this day, who will lie with his wife, and whoever will discuss a matter that he will do on it, so that he might make a journey for any buying or selling, or whoever draws water on it, which was not prepared from him on the sixth day, and whoever lifts up anything that he will carry to take out of his tent or from his house, let him die. Now, for those of you who may be new to these scriptures, you may say, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. This is kind of harsh. And guess what? You're right. They took it, they're within so many years of the wrong hands receiving the right knowledge, they ended up tweaking a lot of things. This is why Christ came on the scene and he was picking corn for his disciples on the Sabbath. Was Christ cursed? No. Did Christ go to hell? No. So we see that there was an abuse and a changing of scriptures because it says we were allowed to go and get food if it was needed, right? You were allowed to do righteous acts on the Sabbath. It was the scribes and Pharisees who were like, they broke the Sabbath. And now, here's the thing. Most people are going to say, well, and you have a lot of the children of Israel who like, oh, well, it's the Sabbath and we can't do this. Well, here's this. That tissue that fell on the floor, did you pick it up? Because it would be equivalent to picking up sticks, right? Didn't it say not to pick up sticks on the Sabbath? Or maybe your shoe, maybe your sock. You picked up your sock from your drawer, right? Right? That's work. Remember, the law was not to make it like, uh, uh, uh. And I remember coming into the truth, right? Some people, when I first came into the truth, some people would not even wash their dishes on the Sabbath. And I said, you think the Most High wants a dirty place on the Sabbath? Of all times, that should be the cleanest, right? My point exactly. So Christ came to clarify some things because you're sitting up there telling people, okay, if you working 6 days a week and you're working 16, 18, 19 hours a day, you mean to tell me that the Most High is going to do away with you because you went early Sabbath morning to buy your family food? You're insane. Because Christ showed us that, hey, if you're not going to fast on the Sabbath, that is the big no no. That's the biggest of all no nos. You don't fast on the Sabbath, you enjoy the rest and the blessings that the Most High gave you. Right? Now, moving forward, you shall not do any work upon the day of the Sabbath except what you prepared for yourself on the sixth day to eat and to drink and to rest and observe a Sabbath from all work on that day and to bless the Lord your God who gave you the day of festival and the holy day. Now, here's the thing here. It says, you shall not do any work upon the day of the Sabbath except what you prepared for yourself on the sixth day to eat. Now, you remember the Torah, right? All right, good, good, good. And you remember Moses in the wilderness, right? Good. You remember the children of Israel. And you remember that they cooked food, right? And you remember that when they tried to keep food, that it went bad, right? I want you to think now. One, the law of the Sabbath was to not be gluttonous, but to eat a good portion. That meant you also had to know your limits. It's not to bulge and barge, it's to know your limits. Two is to be happy and be joyful. That's two. Three, we also have to take in consideration the time. Brothers and sisters, you, I, your neighbor, we are all called to work, 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 work. Not only do we have a spiritual job for our Father in heaven to advance the body of Christ with one another, we also have physical jobs, right? And that is time consuming. That's something in the wilderness that our forefathers and foremothers did not have to do. So, the same thing goes with the scribes and Pharisees. They had just spiritual jobs. The common people were pressured by what? The scribes and Pharisees to come into the temple and study and do the spiritual works, and then go out and slave for Caesar, plus that overwhelming tithing that the scribes and Pharisees would demand. Now, if we understand, and I'm going to shout out Ethiopia, anyone in Ethiopia, Kenya, Sudan, you know exactly what I'm talking about when your priest will come out every Sunday or every holy day and they will say, hey, pay for a blessing, and they'll put this cross on you, and they'll do the whole, the little cross symbol, and then you'll pay them for a blessing, and they'll go to the next person and demand money. That's exactly what they used to do. Yeah. It gets wild outside of Europe, outside of America. It gets wild. You imagine a priest coming to you up there, hey, pay for this blessing or God's going to curse you. What? No. But the Most High is merciful. The Most High is merciful. So, if, like I said it once again, if you're working and the Most High knew that you were being taxed and taxed and taxed, you don't think He would let you go purchase food on the Sabbath? What, are you going to starve? For example, you take people who work in a sweatshop. I mean, they're working from 3, 4 in the morning all the way to 10 at night. What happens then? What happens with the construction workers who wake up crack of dawn in the morning and come home late at night, right? When everyone's sleeping. What happens? What happens to the truck drivers who transport back and forth, right? What happens then? You see, when they interjected these things in the law, it brought stress upon people because they felt like God wouldn't love them. And then what did they do? They ended up stop serving the Most High. This is what Christ told us. He said, you tell people to do things that you wouldn't do. Hmm. If you didn't understand what I'm saying, it's time for you to go back into the Gospels and really dissect what Christ was trying to show, which is mercy. Which is mercy. He showed mercy to his disciples. He showed mercy to the people. I mean, look at Nicodemus, right? He showed mercy. Look at Paul. The whole thing was about you are the Most High's people, but you fail to show mercy. They wanted to stone the woman. You fail to show mercy. You can't pull the animal out. You fail to show mercy. Can't feed the poor on the Sabbath. You fail to show mercy. You won't sit with the sinners to show them that God loves them and to stop doing what they're doing. You fail to show mercy. This was Israel. Israel had a problem with showing mercy. And this is not what Moses taught. Moses, you're talking about the greatest leader, the man who sacrificed more than we could ever know. I mean, think about it. Most people would say, I'm good. I'm living nice. Pharaoh's quarters. Hey, hey, tough luck for them, right? But you're talking about someone who gave up every ounce of blessing that if you and I seen, we probably would go after, right? Especially as the times are getting hard, we probably would go after it. What do you mean? You get to live nice and people get to work for you, right? And no, don't you say no, that wouldn't be me because I'm a believer in the Most High knows what we can handle. So if He placed us in this time, this is what we can handle. If He didn't place us in that time, we definitely couldn't handle it. Keep that in mind, right? Be honest. Moving forward. It says a day of the holy kingdom for all Israel is a day among their days always. For great honor is the honor which the Lord gave Israel to eat and drink and to be satisfied on this day of festival and to rest in it from all work of occupations. You're resting from all work of your job, all work of your earthly jobs. See, washing dishes, making sure you have a clean space, because we all know that's something that Israel has learned across the board. A clean home is closest to God, right? He loves cleanliness. You read in the Testament of Solomon, it teaches you that dirty spaces and dirty homes bring in spirits. You sitting there telling me that Most High wants you to have a dirty home on the Sabbath because He don't want you to clean your dishes from eating? What? It doesn't make sense. That's because in the Jubilees, it tells us to rest in it from all work of occupation. That's your job. If you are a student and you go to school, that's your schooling. You're supposed to rest. No homework, no projects, no extra shifts on the Sabbath, none of that. You're supposed to rest. I'll read it again. To rest in it from all work of the occupations of the children of men, except offer incense. Now, please, no one tell me about incense. Have mercy. I mean, it's 2024. We're not doing that. No. And to bring gifts and sacrifices before the Lord for the days, for the Sabbaths. Now, we understand in Ecclesiasticus 35, and I share this with y'all all the time, these are the sacrifices. These are the offerings. Offerings, offerings. This is the sacrifice of the offering. Departing from wickedness is an offering. Offering of the righteous. Sacrifice of a just man. Ecclesiasticus 35, what is it? 1 through 8, 1 through 10 is all about how you can offer in today's time without slaying animals. That is the offering that Moses was referring to. It reads, this work alone shall be done on the day of the Sabbath in the sanctuary of your Lord your God, so that they might atone for Israel with continual gift day by day for an acceptable memorial before the Lord, so that He might accept them forever day by day, just as He commanded you. Now, someone go and tell the Christians that it says day by day, which means what? You don't have to just go to church, okay? You can give the Most High offerings and do good other than just on the Sabbath. The Sabbath is a Sabbath. You cannot, say Wednesday is my Sabbath. And that's something with Gen X and the baby boomers. Y'all gonna get in a lot of trouble for that. They're gonna get in a lot of trouble for that. You can give the Most High offerings every day of the week if you have an opportunity. But his Sabbath is his Sabbath alone. You cannot, and if you have a job, I'm a believer in this. The Most High will help you. I'm a believer. Now, if your job doesn't pertain to helping people, then would that be breaking the Sabbath? Yes, it would be if you're working on the Sabbath. But let's say if you're a doctor and you work on the Sabbath, are you breaking the Sabbath? No, because you're helping sick people. Right? Imagine, right? Think about this. Imagine someone coming in on the Sabbath. Oh, I just got shot. They bring them in the stretcher. This person just got shot. Where's the doctor? Oh, they're all on the Sabbath. So imagine how many people would die. You see, there is mercy for doing good on the Sabbath, giving to the poor, teaching people the ways of the Most High, teaching people how to endure with the Most High, healing people. All these things are good works on the Sabbath. Moving forward, it says, and so, well, that continual gift day by day for an acceptable memorial before the Lord, and so that he might accept them forever day by day, just as he commanded you. So the Most High wants to be pleased with you and me by seeing that we have something to offer him every day. Now, you got something to offer your job every day, but do you have something to offer the Most High? I don't think you get it. Christ gave us the playbook of how to get into the kingdom. It was, and if you sit there and think about it, getting into the kingdom can be so easy. The only thing that makes it hard is Satan, right? But on our part, getting into the kingdom is easy. Why do you say that, Minister Yeshua? I want you to think about it. Christ told us one thing that was so important. All the things he said is important, but one thing that should stick out to you: I will judge you by your works. So, brothers and sisters, if you're doing something good every day, you got something good to show every day. You're going to have a long list. Let's say you do two good things a day, 364 days of the year. You got over 700 things to show for the year. Say, Most High. And yeah, you're going to backslide sometimes. You're going to slip and fall. You're going to make a mistake. And you're going to fast. That's also a part of what? A gift. Because a gift of the Most High, yes, it's fasting as well. Why? Because you're abstaining from pleasure. That's when you are saying, I take control of my flesh. I take control of my desires and I submit to the Most High entirely. Okay. As for any man who does work on it, who goes on a journey, or plows a field, either at home or other place, or who kindles a fire, who rides on an animal, or who travels in a sea in a boat, or any man who slaughters or kills anything, or slashes the throat of cattle or bird, or who snares any. Now I'm just a little paranoid there, making sure that it stays on. I guess. Um, I guess someone is listening from the other end over there because it says active attendee. I have no idea who that is, but all right. Well, whoever's listening, because something crazy is going on. I hope you learned something too. All right. And as for any who does work on it, who goes on a journey, and as I was saying before, this is those travelings on like um vacation and you know road trips and stuff like this. Now, there's been times where you may see in the world where I think it's like on the Sabbath where places are usually cheaper to go and things like that. And that is all to get people to sit. Cruise ships are cheaper on the weekend and all those things, right? You have to keep in mind, brothers and sisters, that it is all to cause people to sin. It's all to cause people to sin. Now, let's say if you are a humanitarian worker and it is your job, like Doctors Without Borders, things like that, soup kitchens, and none of those are offenses that's going to get you into hell. Those are offenses. Those are, excuse me, great things, good works that the Most High is going to be like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Feeding the poor, clothing the naked, taking care of the sick. These are all good things that the Most High is going to smile and be proud of you about. You see, I want you to think about it here, right? We work 6 days a week. The scribes and Pharisees, even people today, the false prophets, false elders, false pastors, so forth and so forth, they will tell you not to do works on the Sabbath. A lot of them will tell you not to. Why is that? Because they want to control their congregation just for themselves. I want you to keep that in mind now. Um, I'm using 1+1 here because if you keep the people inside the church, you have the potlucks inside the church. You're not inviting anyone from outside the church, right? Then, with that being said, imagine every single minister saying, "All right, I want everyone in the congregation to go do a good work." But how many times do you hear that? They say that you'll be blessed by giving them money. Christ says you'll be blessed by giving to the poor, by helping the poor, by visiting the poor, by feeding the poor. So when we listen to these wolves in sheep's clothing, it actually takes us away from doing good works. Because if you're working 6 days a week, what time do you have to do good works, right? Now, some people could go to visit, and I know everyone has to go through checks and stuff like that, obviously, but maybe you want to go and volunteer for a soup kitchen on the Sabbath. Maybe you want to go and visit sick kids who have cancer or leukemia or something, doing something good, right? Maybe you want to go to a place where they drop their children off who no longer want them. Show them, read to them the Bible or the scriptures. Show them that God still loves them, right? You can do these things on the Sabbath. Buy them pizza, on the Sabbath. Feed the kids, government food is horrible, right? You know, those are all good works that the Most High would smile upon you and say, "That's my son. That's my daughter. I'm so proud of you." But you see, so many of the elders in Israel, so many of the people in the pastoral positions, they say, "No, you can't do this. You can't do that." I tell you, one day I was living in an apartment and I threw out my trash on the Sabbath. And they would be like, "Oh my goodness, he left his house on the Sabbath." And when I threw out my trash, I was living in an apartment complex, and behind the dumpster was a homeless man. And he was sleeping on a couch that someone threw out. And so, with that, my family and I, we were able to fill up 2 bags and give him some clothes, give him water, give him some fruits, apples, bananas, granola bars. But if I had never gone out, that work would have never gotten done. Who's to say that the Most High told that homeless man to rest there and I will give you food the next day through me? Who's to say the Most High wouldn't do that through you? Who's to say, as much times that I know, brothers and sisters, we all have a heart, so I know that you've given to the poor before. Who's to say that the Most High have placed that homeless person or that person of who's in less and who's of need, placed them right in your vicinity, knowing that you would be the only one to do something for them? The Most High, He would love that, right? So, kind of keep in mind that as we are the Most High's people, and even with the Gentiles coming to follow the children of Israel, they are people too. They're the Most High's people. That the Most High is going to take you and place you in places where you can help people. If you're sitting inside all day, you can't help people. You're only helping yourself. But Christ told us to be the light, to be the beacon, right? To be the salt of the earth, right? We must keep this in mind. Now, the fasting, obviously, I shared this, no fasting on the Sabbath, because when you're fasting, you're feeling those pains, those spirits leave the body, those temptations coming. You guys know those pains. The Most High don't want you to be in pain on the Sabbath, okay? And that's making war and all those things never should be. Now, let's go to the book of Josephus again. And we'll go 115, 116. And I apologize. I wanted to use my book because it gives pages. The PDF doesn't, and so it kind of just drove me crazy as into, I can't find the pages. Okay, so this is my actual um, Josephus here, and I'm going to read from 115. This is, we'll go ahead and read. We'll start from 3. we'll start from 3. Now, if you haven't read the Josephus, it's very important, but like this is where we get certain texts from, by the way. So the more you know, the more you grow. Apostolic constitutions, the Catholics took this and kind of shredded it up and put their dirty little fingerprints in it. But if you can discern where they have put things in there, you understand that ministers are supposed to abide by something called an apostolic constitution, which means we are supposed to give rules to the congregation based on these constitutions. Okay. And these came from Peter and the disciples, by the way. So, I mean, it's kind of like it came from Moses, but it came back up during, you know, the disciples in Christ. Because, Christ was just revealing, hey, you took X, Y, and Z out the scriptures, and you don't apply by this. And so forth and so forth. Okay. So this is several laws. This is the book of Josephus. This is Antiquities. I want to say this is still book 3. Yep, book 3, chapter 2. So yeah, I always had gotten confused a while back. But anyway, here we go. And truly Moses gave them all these precepts, being such as were observed during his own lifetime. But though he lived now in the wilderness, yet did he make provision how they might observe the same laws when they should have taken the land of Canaan. So he gave them laws, but understood that they would change once they went into another land. Moving forward, he gave them rest to the land from plowing and planting every 7th year. So wait a second. You mean to tell me every 7 years is a sabbatical year? That's correct. Good job. So what does this mean? What does this mean? One moment, please. Can everyone hear me? Test, test. All right. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Let's keep it going. Okay. It reads right here at the 281 mark. He gave them rest to the land from plowing and planting every 7th year, as he had prescribed to them to rest. What's to rest from working every 7th day. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever heard this before, but doctors used to say that your body changes every 7 years, kind of like your taste buds change every 7 years, your body changes every 7 years. So, understanding this, our body even runs in the course of the Sabbath. A lot of people had no idea. When you turn 7 years old, you're starting to understand things. When you turn 14 years old, you start to understand a new part of life. Taste buds change. Turn 20, 21 years old, you start to understand more about adulthood. Turn 28 years old, you're like, man, I made it. Wow. I'm a big adult now, and start so forth and so forth and so forth. So even our bodies run in a 7-year Sabbath, just like the land. Okay. And it says, in order then that then what grew of its own accord out of the earth should in common belong, I'll blast this, belong to all that please to use it, making no distinction in that respect between their own countrymen and foreigners, and he ordained that they should do the same after 7 times 7 years, which in all are 50 years, and the 50th year is called by the Hebrews the Jubilee, wherein debtors are freed from their debts, and slaves are set at liberty, which slaves became such, though they were of the same stock, by transgressing some of those laws, the punishment of which was not capital, but they were punished by this method of slavery. This year also restores the land to its former possessors in the manner following. When the Jubilee is come, which name denotes liberty, he that sold the land and he that bought it meet together, make an estimate on one hand and of the fruits gathered, and on the other hand the expenses laid upon it. Now let's stop here. How serious is the Jubilee, you may ask? Now the book of Romans tells us not to be carnal. It says to be spiritual. Anyone who's carnal cannot please the Most High. You have to understand not only in the physical and the flesh, carnal manner, but you have to understand the spiritual. And the spiritual holds more weight than the carnal. Now, 50 years is a jubilee, but there were things that ran in 7 cycles, 7 years, and it was known as liberty, freedom. But pay close attention here, where it says debtors are freed from their debts and slaves are set at liberty. Now, what's really interesting here is the reason why people were in slavery. It says, which slaves became such, though they were the same of the same stock. Now, if you read the law before, you weren't supposed to enslave your own brother or sister, meaning your own lineage. The children of Israel were not supposed to have Hebrew slaves. But here it tells us that Israel did. So why did they? It says, by transgressing some of the laws, the punishment of which was not capital. So the punishment was not through forms of money. The punishment was a form of slavery. Kind of like how the children of Israel were brought into the four corners of the world from certain places into captivity. So slavery, if you don't want to, and think about this, this is how serious serving the Most High is. You know, the children of Israel, we talk about being free, right? We talk about, you know, just having our own land and living in peace. But you can't live in peace without the Most High. And so the Jubilee only applies to those who serve the Most High. I repeat, the Jubilee only applies to those who serve the Most High, which means if you didn't serve the Most High, Jubilee means nothing to you. It means nothing. So there would be no freedom if you didn't serve the Most High properly. There would be none. I'll show you this more in scriptures as well. Now, moving forward, I love this also because when you think about the spiritual and the physical, it says, obviously, the Jubilee denotes liberty. He that sold the land and he that bought it meet together and make an estimate, one hand of the gathered of the fruits gathered, and the other hand of the expenses. So, knowing that the Most High is a husbandman from the book of John, Christ is a shepherd, he said, I want you to produce fruits, right? Now we place this with us, and the Most High is coming to gather every Jubilee, every prior year. He said, all right, stop on year 6, or stop just at the mark of year 7, and I'm going to show you what you earned. The sower seed. You're going to work, you're going to work, you're going to work. Some going to manifest and produce, some 20, some 30, some 40, some 60, some 100-fold, right? These are fruits, these are good works. Wherefore you shall know them by their fruits. The Most High was giving 6 years to show before he gave a determination of what you did for those previous 6 years. Are y'all following me? This is how the Jubilee plays out now. So, if you've done well in your 6 years, you get to have a little ease and rest. You get a little blessing from the Most High. If you haven't done well, the Most High is like, hey, you need to show me some more. And that's when punishment comes in. So not only was the Jubilee for good things, Jubilee was a time of recompense. I mean, you kind of think of it, right? Kind of think of it as in so many sinners fail to realize that they have grace, or I don't want to say grace, but leniency of the Most High, because they say, oh, well, I'm doing good for myself, and yada, yada, and Most High hasn't taken me yet, and because the Most High operates in sevens. He'll let you do everything that you want to do, hoping that you will ask for forgiveness before that 7th year comes. And then what? Boom, boom, boom. Now, you may say, we're at different ages. How does this work with sevens? Well, every 7 years. So if one person is 50, if one person is 35, one person is in their 20s, they be preparing for 21. All right, Most High gonna show me what I've been doing. And it's kind of crazy once you think about it, because schools should kind of teach all young people that by time you get out of high school, so-called high school, the Most High is going to show you what you deserve. So, for example, you notice how very promiscuous people in high school, they usually never go really far. Anyone notice that? Because the Bible says he didn't want us to destroy our youth. Now, there are people who have been forgiven from this, and they're the prodigal child, son or daughter. But you really recognize, and I think everyone can name at least 1 or 2 people from when they were in high school and say, man, they had all these dreams, and then boom, something happened. Well, because they wasn't living right in 7 years. So a jubilee is a form of recompense. You reap what you sow. Henceforth, we see the fruits gathered, right? And then the expenses laid upon it, meaning what you did, what you sacrificed, and how you got it. Very interesting. Now look at this. But if the expenses prove more than the fruits, the present possessor receives the former owner the difference that was wanting. So think of this now. If the Most High blessed you so much, but you wasn't putting out the fruits that, so think of it like the Most High gave interest and not worldly interest. He says, okay, I'm going to give you this interest. I'm going to bless you. I'm going to give you this nice home. Now go and produce fruits for me. Now, at the end of those 7 years, he's going to say, man, I gave you everything you asked for, and you didn't prove to me why I should have let you have this. So I have to take it back. And that's where that scripture comes from. As the Most High gives, he can take. Right? Because he's going to take what you don't deserve. That's fair, ain't it? It says, and leaves the land to him. And if the fruits received and the expenses laid out prove equal to one another, the present possessor relinquish it to his former owner, meaning they worked hard enough for it. Moses would have the same law obtained as to those houses also which were sold in villages, but he had made a different law such as were sold in a city. Excuse me. What's going on here? Follow me here. For if he that sold it tendered the purchaser his money again within a year, he was forced to restore it. But in case a whole year had intervened, the purchaser was to enjoy what he had bought. This was the constitution of the laws of Moses, learned of God, and when the camp lay under Mount Sinai, this is delivered in writing to the Hebrews. Full stop. So the Jubilee was kind of like where the Most High wanted to see what you have done throughout the years and how much you've sown into what he wanted you to do. The question is, brothers and sisters, have you sown in to what he wanted you to do? That's the true question. Let's go to Leviticus 25. So we're right about here. Leviticus 25. And I read, and the Lord spake unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. 6 years thou shalt sow thy field, and 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyard, and gather in the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard. That which groweth of its own accord of thy harvest thou shalt not reap, neither gather the grapes of the vine undressed, for it is a year of rest unto the land. Now, how do we equate this to us as creation? I'm going to say something really scary. Once that 7 year hits, for people, because your 7 year and my 7 year may not be the same, but we do understand the Jubilee is a Jubilee. So the Jubilee doesn't change for anyone. The Jubilee is non-changeable. The 7 years is per person. Okay. Now, with that being said, This is a Jubilee, but four. And this is a sabbatical year because it's before the Jubilee. I'll go over that a little bit later. What does this mean? This means a Sabbath of rest means the Most High rests. If you have not shown the Most High enough good works, good fruits, He's going to let you know next year. He's going to let you know. And if you have shown the Most High good works and good fruits, He's going to let you know. Jubilee is nothing more but then an official recompense, but worldwide. That's what it is. It's a recompense. It's a recompense, and some people get rest, and some people do not. And that's why I said in you see Donald Trump toting this golden year, trying to get everyone comfortable in Babylon. My goodness. And then, did anyone see where I believe the most controversial part of what Donald Trump did in the United States was to enforce the Bible in schools? Now you're saying you're a minister. Why wouldn't you want the Bible? Of course I would want the Bible. Of course I would want young kids to learn. But I don't want the young kids who love the Most High to become a target of Satan. And that's what's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. Because you ravish a youth for 4 years straight, and then you slap the Bible in their face. Now you're causing division between the children. Now children are going to have to live in a war zone inside the school, as if they already didn't. So now this is going to go to another level for those in Babylon, because parents will get involved in hurting kids and hurting other parents. Now, when I was a kid, I remember being in high school and they tried to get me to do a atheist about how humans came from monkeys, and I'll never forget it. And I was in I want to say I was in the 10th grade. I think it was the 10th grade. It was the 10th grade or the 11th grade, one of those two. And I said, nah, I'm not going to do that. You give me the F, I ain't going to do it. And so they called my mom. My mom said, do it, but do it right. So I put the scriptures in it. I put the scriptures in it. And they brought in the police officer. They escorted me from class, brought me to the principal, and gave me days off for suspension for incorporating God. Now, you take that was over 20 years ago. You take it in this environment now where there's school shootings, school stabbings, teachers are fighting students are beating on teachers. What do you think is going to happen? You have kids who want to abort, you have kids who want to fight, to stab, to threaten. What do you think is going to occur? What do you think is going to occur in Babylon? What's going to occur is that it's going to divide now to the next level. So the adults are already divided. Now we need to go to the younger children and divide them. That's what they're saying. I want you to pay attention. And for anyone who has children in those school systems in the US, if you don't want your child to become a target, you may want to pull them out now. You may want to pull them out now. Because the reality is no child should have to fight in when their environment is supposed to learn to help them be an adult. Right? But now you have after school programs with Satanism. You have all these things going on, the alphabet community. Imagine how those children in those schools will be outnumbered. The children who, and then it's going to be even worse because you know why? This is going to show you that America has never been a godly nation. You know why? I'm going to show you why. You're going to have Mormons going to school with Seventh-day Adventists, going with Israelites, going with Seventh-day Adventists, going to school with Catholics. And as soon as one of them hits the other, meaning one of the secular children, the children who don't believe in God, hits someone who believes in Christ, all of them are going to seclude to their own groups and say, don't get involved. Instead of protecting your brother and sister, no matter what denomination they are, right? They're going to say, hey, if you hit that Israelite, let them go. They don't believe what we believe. They hit that Seventh-day Adventist, let them go. They don't believe what we believe. And so it's going to cause an even greater divide. And people are going to say, this is the God you serve. If this was the God you served, why didn't those people who call themselves Christians help you? Right? Pay attention. But anywho, verse 5 says, that which groweth of its own accord of thy harvest, thou shalt not reap, neither gather of the grapes of thy vine. For it is a year of rest unto the land. The Sabbath of the land shall be meat for you, for thee, and for thy servant, for thy maid, and for thy hired servant, for thy stranger that sojourneth with thee. It says, for thy cattle and thy beasts that are in thy land shall all the increase thereof be meat. Now, for anyone who's thinking that this is, flesh, it's not. But remember, meat just means food, okay? Cattle was the production to get you to put that plow in the ground, right? As such, beast was, and cattle was like, you use the skin for the warmth and things of that nature. And then they grow back. Moving forward, and thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years, and the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years. Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month, in the day of atonement. Shall ye make the trumpet sound throughout all your land? Wait, what? That's right. Jubilee, Yes. Dedication of new oil. Yes. And atonement. All were a part of the Jubilee. So imagine not fasting on the Day of Atonement during the Jubilee. Ha! It's wild. You're gonna miss something, boy. You're gonna miss those blessings. And I'm gonna show you why this would be the most important atonement that you've ever done in your life. I promise you, this will be the most important. In the day of atonement, ye shall make the trumpet sound throughout all your land, and ye shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man unto his possession, and ye shall return every man unto his family. Imagine if the world operated this way. We would be in so much peace. Imagine if every debt could go clean. Showing you that you take any Christian pastor who uses Romans 12 and says you gotta follow the government, right? You take any Christian pastor and you say, this is originally how God wanted it. So capitalism and serving interests and charging people and taxing people is not in the scriptures. So don't sit there and tell me this is how God intended the world to be. Right? Don't tell me this is how God intended the world to be, where I have to work so many hours and get taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed. And you know what they're going to say? Well, Christ said, give to what Caesar's is Caesar's. That's true. But Christ never told Caesar to abuse his power, did he? Why do you think Christ is coming back? Because these individuals abuse their power to the point where you won't even be able to serve the Most High. Right? I mean, that's what the mark of the beast is, right? They abuse their power to the point where you can't buy or sell, right? So, no, they don't go by the ways of the Most High. It's us to teach the people, it's us to bring it back. And the Most High would bring it back in manifestation through those who serve Him. Verse 11, a jubilee shall the 50th year be unto you. Ye shall not sow, neither reap that which groweth of itself in it, nor gather the grapes in it of thy vine undressed. For it is the jubilee, it shall be holy unto you. Ye shall eat the increase thereof out of the field. In the year of this jubilee ye shall return every man unto his possession. Wow. If thou sell aught unto thy neighbor, or buyest out of thy neighbor's hands, ye shall not oppress one another. According to the number of years after the Jubilee, thou shalt buy of thy neighbor. Buy of thy neighbor. According unto the number of years of the fruits he shall sell unto thee. So if the fruit was, 4 months old, sell it for 4. It's 3 months old, you sell it. You sell it accordingly. The older it was, the cheaper it was. The fresher it was, a little bit more expensive, but a fair price, right? Reads verse 16, according to the multitude of years thou shalt increase the price. Now, this is not just talking about fruits. This is talking about possessions. And according to the fewness of years thou shalt diminish the price. Now, Do you see this? This went backwards from what we see today. The Most High said fewness of years, you lower the price. Multitude of years, you raise it. What? So think about going to a car shop with the Most High. Brand new car is cheaper for you because it has less years. Right? This is what the Most High was saying. I want everyone to have something good because nowadays you go to a car dealership, they're going to charge you a high price for something that's old. Like, are we serious? I don't care if it has four wheels or five. If it's old, you shouldn't be charging over $10,000. There's no way. If it's got more than 5 years on it, it should not be more than 10 years, $10,000. Heck, people, they shouldn't even be charging that. But that's another story for another time. Moving forward, ye shall not therefore oppress one another. Thou shalt fear thy God, for I am the Lord your God. Now, here's the problem now because people who own businesses, this is where they come into a tight position. So if let's say you sold your t-shirts for $30 and then you come to a sabbatical, you're actually now supposed to lower it to a substantial amount instead of keep it higher. So now that means everyone who claims they serve the Most High and still keeping those same prices, so not everyone can afford it, they done broke the Jubilee because they're overpricing their brothers and sisters. Is that not what it was saying? Wherefore ye shall do my statutes and keep my judgments and do them, and ye shall dwell in the land safety. And the land shall yield her fruit, and ye shall eat your fill and dwell therein in safety. And ye shall say, what shall we eat in the seventh year? Behold, we shall not sow nor gather in our increase. Then I will command my blessing upon you in the what? I will command my blessing upon you in the what? In the 6th year, and it shall bring forth fruit for 3 years. Huh? So, what did I say? You started seeing blessings in that preparation, and then for the next 3 years, the Most High would bless it, which equals to what? A total of 10 years. Which means you have the 6, it's a 10 in whole. Now follow me now. I know I'm not good at math, but follow me. There's 6 years. He wants you to rest on the 7th, and then after that 7th, or after the 6th, you get 3 years of blessings. So 3 years from 6 is 9. So then, because the Most High, I don't know if you noticed, but Most High works in 7s, 10, 12, 30, and 40. For example, 7 Sabbaths. 7th day is the holy day. 10, he works in 10. The 10 guidances, the 10 commandments. You following? Okay, okay, all right. Good. Right? And so then from that 10 years would start over to year 0. and then you would count another 6 years, and then boom, boom, boom. And you shall sow the 8th year and eat of the old fruit the 9th year until her fruit shall come, and you shall eat of the old store. Are you seeing this? So this was pretty important, and we don't really see many people teach about. Wait a second, the Most High wants to bless us for 3 years. Now, if you understand how serious that is, this is why I said Donald Trump and everyone in the world, they're talking about a golden year and this is the golden time. They're trying to get everyone to think about this world. But in 1 year of a blessing, when the Most High wants to say, hey, I want to bless you for 3. Now imagine what you could do at 3 blessed and protected years of the Most High in the end. When he tells you, when he tells you that you should be alive for 3.5 years, remember in the book of Daniel? He tells you if you can make it past the 1,000th such and such day. That's 3 years. This is the last Jubilee. You need the blessing of those 3 years to make this. You follow me? You're not under the Most High blessing for that. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard. So, you see someone, you say something, hey, it's get ready to be the Jubilee. You love the Most High? Good, me too. Well, get yourself together because the Jubilee begins in 29 days. Now, we understand that the Jubilee starts at, it would start in the beginning of the year. And this is why I don't really go too much into dates, right? I get it. Some people will try and find, oh, well, what about this date or what about that date? I get it. Everyone wants to learn the time, but guess what? The Most High has given us mercy because through the ways of Satan, we're not going to be able to go back to that time. So we have to deal. He gives us mercy to use their calendar to serve him. Now, yes, it says you should be in the right time. Do you understand? You can look this up too. They added 1,000 years to the calendar. That's right. We're not in 2000. They added 1,000 years to the calendar. So you can't find anything. You can't find any proper date. So the Most High gives us mercy. You sitting there thinking, and I know the Israelite community sit there and think like, oh, they just added a few extra days at the end of the month. No, they added 1,000 years to the original calendar. That's why Ethiopia is still the same. That's why Iran is still in 1,000 years. And that's why you read the Bible and think that the end of the world is so far out of touch when actually we're very close. We're not, brothers and sisters, America has only been running for like maybe what, 200 years, maybe? Not even? Not even. Let me see. Because I remember having the article there. One second. Let me pull this up. All right. 248 years. The United States, as of July 4th, 2024, 248 years. The United States only been kicking. Some people will sit there and say, the Bible says we would have been in slavery for 400 years. That's true. But you thought all 400 years was in America. They fooled you because it was some a little bit in South America. It was some a little bit in Iran and Ethiopia and Egypt. I'm not talking about the time of Joseph either. It was talking about a collective whole of the children of Israel, not just in one place. That is 400 years, yes. But you would have to bring all the information together to understand that. Now, overall, the United States is 248 years old, which means what? Well, much here. Which means we're closer to history than further apart. We're closer to our forefathers leaving the lands of Eden and coming to the Americas than we think. I mean, you read the New Testament, it says the moment that Christ was crucified began the end times, which means we are closer to Christ when he was crucified than further apart when they say 2,000 years ago. No, it was not 2,000 years ago. It was very soon. It was very close. Go ahead, don't believe me. Go ahead and look up how they added 1,000 years to the calendar to make you think that what? The pyramids was built hundreds and thousands of years ago to make you think that slavery happened, in such an ancient time when that was not even but what 40, 50 years ago. Come on. The First World War, the Second World War, they weren't but years ago. It wasn't hundreds of years away. But they did that on purpose so that you wouldn't understand these important things. And Jubilee is one of them. They sat there and did a Jubilee for the Queen. Now, you may say, oh, yeah, I remember that. They did a Jubilee for the Queen, the Lizard Queen. Right? And let me pull it up here. This one. No, they did a Jubilee for them. Now here they go. Nothing matters about a silver jubilee and a gold, diamond jubilee and a platinum. We go by what the Most High says. There's only one jubilee. It's every 50 years. But there are sabbatical years, which is 7, and He has a promise on those for you and me. Keep this in mind now. Why is it that the Jubilee is only important for them, but not for you and me? The Jubilee was created for you and me. Rest was created for you and me. These people don't want you to have rest. They don't want you to receive the blessings from the Most High. 3 years of blessings? No, I need mine. I need mine. You need yours. You see how hard you guys work? You see how hard you guys work? I know you're tired. Come on. You need those blessings. And the Most High wants to give them to you. Remember that commercial? It's my money and I want it now. No, it's not money. Baby, it's not money. It's not money. It's our blessings. It's our blessings from our Father, and I need it now. I need it now, right now. Not later, not in 10 minutes. Now when the Most High says his now is now, his now is my now. And his now is right now. And we need those blessings now. Amen. It reads, "The land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for ye are strangers and sojourners with me. In all the land of your possessions ye shall grant a redemption for the land." Wow. "If thy brother be waxen poor, and hath sold away some of his possession, and if any of his kin come to redeem it, then shall he redeem that which his brother sold. And if the man have none to redeem it, and himself be able to redeem it, then let him count the years of the sale, and restore the overplus unto the man to whom he sold it, that he may return unto his possession. But if he be not able to restore it to him, then that which is sold shall remain in the hand of him that bought it until the year of the Jubilee. And in the Jubilee it shall go out, and he shall return unto his possession. And if a man sell a dwelling house in a walled city, then he may redeem it within a whole year after it is sold. Within a full year may he redeem it." Now, I want you to understand this. How they worded it, you're like, wait, if he sold the house, so you mean to tell me he can go back and take the house from the person he bought? No, this was talking about what we call today repossession. If your house gets repossessed, you got to go and give it back to that person. If your car gets repossessed, you got to go and give it back to that person. I mean, come on, y'all. How beautiful is the Most High? He wasn't giving you something that wasn't yours. He was giving you it back because of how the system was, where you couldn't be able to make those payments. He said, "Hey, I seen what you went through. I know it was hard. I'm going to create a period where everything that was taken from you, I'm going to give it back to you." Now imagine how many homeless people there would be. Let's say if someone fell down on what they would call their luck, right? You know that saying, they fell down on their luck. Just situation, trial after trial, bad thing upon bad thing just come up, right? And then they hit rock bottom. And then they stay in afloat. They going from shelter to shelter, shelter to shelter. And then that Jubilee year come, and someone come around and say, "Hey, I've been looking for you. It's the Most Highest time. It's time to take back what you." Now imagine this. After losing something and then getting it back, that would not only rekindle your connection with the Most High, but that would also show you, one, two, how much he loves you, and three, how much more knowledge would you have, and how much more appreciation would you have for the item that you lost now to keep it. Come on. Most High. I mean, when the book of Isaiah says, "My thoughts are not your thoughts, and your thoughts are not my thoughts," what I'm ministering to you right now is just a little tip of the iceberg. We don't even understand his full greatness as to how this goes, because you know they took things away from the Jubilee. Something was this hot. Why don't the Christian preachers teach this? Why don't they teach this? That the Most High wanted to bless you for 3 years after? Come on now. Then, now I can use what the Christian pastors say. It says the Most High got a blessing with your name on it if you work 6 years hard, and then he would give you 3 years of greatness. Come on now. Ain't that beautiful? Imagine, imagine how many families have struggled taking care of their sick ones and then having to repossess their house and do this and do that, right? To pay bills. And the Most High said, debt clean, gone. Here's your home. I see what you did. I see why you sold your home. I want to give it back to you because no one should have to take away their home to save a life. Most High talking to somebody. Says if a man sold dwelling house in a walled city, then he may redeem it within a whole year after it is sold. Within a full year he may redeem it. And if it be not redeemed within the space of a full year, then the house that is in the walled city shall be established forever to him that bought it throughout his generations. It shall not go out in the Jubilee. So that means if you couldn't find the person who it originally belonged to, you had a year to look for them. You had a year to look for them. Hey, this belongs to you. If they didn't want it, they say, hey, I thank you, but I don't want it, then you can have it. If they want it, got to give it back. Can you imagine the children of Israel? Now, I'm Israel. Now, all of you who are Israel with me, I want you to think. The Most High said that his children, the children of Israel, our foremothers and forefathers, says, your ways are unfair. I want you to think about it. Our forefamilies really said, Most High, your ways are unfair. Think about it. They really said that in Scripture. Your ways are not fair. I had to talk to them in the resurrection. What? Can you show me which ways aren't fair? Because this sounds fair to me. This sounds beyond fair. But the houses of the villages which have no wall round about them shall be counted as the fields of the country, and they may be redeemed, and they shall go out in the Jubilee. Notwithstanding the city of the Levites and the houses of the cities of their possession, and may the Levites redeem them at any time. Now, we understand that the Most High said the Levites were never to deal again with his ministry. So we understand this was changed. Scripture stands, but it's not the Levites who get their possession, it's the ministers, because it's the ministers who should be able to go from city to city to have, right? It's the ministers who are going and seeing the people in different places. Verse 33. And if any man's purchase of the Levites, then the house that was sold in the city of his possession shall go out in the year of Jubilee, for the house of the cities of the Levites are the possession among the children of Israel. So that's just the purchase of the ministers, the cities of the ministers. Simple. And we know Jerusalem to be the city where the ministers would call everyone for the holy day and so forth and so forth. It said, but the field of the suburbs of their cities may not be sold, for it is a perpetual possession. And if thy brother be waxen poor, fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him. Yea, though he be a stranger or sojourner, that he may live with thee. Take thou no usury of him or increase, but fear thy God, that thy brother may live with thee. Thou shalt not give him thy money upon usury, nor lend him the victuals for increase. I am the Lord your God, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, to give you the land of Canaan, and to be your God. And if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxen poor, and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant, but as an hired servant, and as a sojourner, and he shall be with thee, and shall serve unto thee the Jubilee year. Then shall he depart from thee, both he and his children with him, and shall return unto his own family, and unto the possessions of his fathers shall he return. Now, someone's going to say, okay, so this means I can help my family. It's very important that we do not cherry pick. Cherry picking, just picking what you feel is nice. So you are supposed to help someone, okay? And someone says, oh, this says brother, like a family member. Now, keep in mind what Christ said. I set a variance to families. I'm bringing you out of families. So who would this be? This could be a family. This could be a friend. This could be someone off the street that you may want to help. Most High may wants to help. Hey, please use wisdom. Please use wisdom. Please use wisdom. Because, and I'm talking for those who, per se, they are going to convince themselves that this should be family. Keep in mind that you are always supposed to live with like-minded people, right? You're supposed to sit with them, eat with them, converse with them, study with them. But if your brother or your family member is down and out and they don't want to serve the Most High, just imagine how many spirits you'd be bringing amongst your home. And I want y'all to understand one last thing on that subject is when you start compromising the ways of the Most High, you'll start losing your blessings and bad things will happen. Moving forward, it says, for they are my servants which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen. Excuse me. Thou shalt not rule over them with rigor, but shalt fear thy God. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. Moreover, the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy of their families that are with you. which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, you shall not rule over one another with rigor. And if a sojourner or a stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brother that dwelleth by him wax poor, and selleth himself unto the stranger or sojourner by thee, or the stock of the stranger's family, after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brethren may redeem him. Either his uncle or his uncle's son may redeem him, or any that is nigh of kin unto him of his family may redeem him. Or if he be able, he may redeem himself, and he shall reckon he shall reckon with him that bought him from the year that he was sold to him unto the year Jubilee, and the price of his sale shall be according unto the number of years, according to the time of the hired servant. Of an hired servant shall it be with him. If there be If there be yet many years behind, according unto them, he shall give again the price of his redemption out of the money that he was bought for. And if there remain but a few years unto the year of Jubilee, then he shall count with him, and according to his years shall he give him again the price of his redemption. And as a yearly hired servant shall he be with him, and the other shall not rule with rigor over him in thy sight. And if he be not redeemed in these years, then he shall go out in the year of Jubilee, both he and his children with him. For unto me the children of Israel are servants, they are my servants, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Now, what is this talking about as in redeeming a poor man? How does a person become poor? Finances, right? So you are to wipe away the debt. This is what this is saying. Imagine, brothers and sisters, we live in a world where debt would be wiped away. I mean, everyone would have a chance to live in peace, right? Everyone would have a chance to live in peace. How beautiful would that be? To see that everyone had the ability to get the same as the next person or better and be happy. But you see, this is a very crucial element of the Most High's love that Satan took out, because if every person, if one person, if two people, if three people out of everyone's family worldwide experience the true power of Jubilee and the love behind it, everyone would serve the Most High. There would be no comparing one another. There would be no being upset because you couldn't have something you felt you deserved, because you would just rely on the Most High to give you what you do deserve. Wow. All right, we're going to Philo 854. And it's just a small portion here. All right. Sorry. All right. Questions and answers on Genesis. So, starting from the word since. Since the first court, the first 10 is simply called holy. That is permitted to be entered by the sweepers of the temple. But the 10 of the tens, when he again enjoins the sweepers of the temple to pay above all things to the existing high priest, is the number 10 computed along with the number 100. For what else is the tenth of tenths but the 100? So showing you that 10 truly is the value of 100, which we know 100 is good. However, the number 99 has been set forth and adorned not only by its affinity to the number 100, but it has also received a particular participation in wonderful nature since it consists in the number 50 and of 7 times 7. For the 50th year, as the year of Pentecost or the year of Jubilee, is called remission in the giving forth of the law, as then all things are given their liberty, whether living or inanimate. What? Beautiful. And the mystery of the 7th year is one of quiet and profound peace to the body and soul. What? So you were supposed to just have freedom from spirits, freedom of mind, healthy body, most high restored, most high helping you get restored, whether that mean the most high got you walking up mountains, whether the most high got you jogging down the street. Hey, the most high wanted to restore the body and the soul. It says, for the 7th is the recollection of all the good things which come on their own accord without industry or labor. So the Most High wanted to show you the power that you had with Him, the connection that you had with Him without you doing anything. Whoa. Whoa. That's right. Whoa. Look at you. Whoa. Yeah, the Most High thought of you that way. Whoa. Whoa. I'll read it again. For the 7th is the recollection of all the good things which come of their own accord without industry or labor, which at first creation of the world nature produced of herself. But the number 49, consisting as it does of 7 times 7, indicates no trifling blessings, but rather those which have virtue and wisdom in such a degree as to contribute to invincible and mighty constancy. What? Mic drop. Now you're like, wait, I don't get it. Okay. I'm getting too excited. I gotta explain it to you guys. Okay. Let's explain it, brothers and sisters. Let's first look at this word. Trifle. Okay. So, it says number 49, consisting as it does 7 times 7, indicates no trifling blessing. So the word trifle means false, idle, tale to deceive, nonsense, also means matter of little importance. We put this together, no small blessings. No, there was no need for you to be like, is this from the Most High? Is this not? You was going to know. You was going to know that the Most High put his right hand up in there and was like, I got you. Yes, you like this power. This is called the power of the Creator, the Almighty. Let me show you how strong my hand is, right? Now, it says, indicates no trifling blessings, but rather those which have virtue, meaning blessings with virtue and wisdom, in such a degree as to contribute to invincible and mighty constancy, which is faith. So, what? What? So, he wanted to build you up with blessings of virtue, which is what? Character, right? That lifestyle of righteousness is going to build you up so you can live righteously for Him, steadfast and in faith. Now, how important was that? Pretty important, huh? I'd say so. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Now here's what I'm gonna do because we have a long day today. All right. I shall cut it off here. We'll break this down throughout. Um, well, this was the first part, so we'll try and do tomorrow part 2 and then part 3. Okay. So that way I can break it up evenly. I don't want to sit there and rush through it. Okay. But brothers and sisters, and I will go more into the articles and the things that I have um, for the Jubilee, okay, in the next lesson. But this is just the beginning, brothers and sisters. This is the foundation. The most important part of the Jubilee is understanding what it's for and what the Most High wants to do. I'm really excited. I'm really excited for you. I'm really excited for all the brothers and sisters worldwide because I know there's no one who works harder than those who seek the kingdom because there's so many things that we have to do without. And to see where the Most High blesses us all because you work so hard, that's a beautiful thing. It's very beautiful. Okay. Especially living in these end times, right? It's so hard. It's so hard. So, next lesson, you may ask, what are we going to go through? We're going to go through how. So, in this lesson, we spoke about a little bit about the atonement and how the Day of Atonement is important in the Jubilee. Not only is the Day of Atonement important, but in the next lesson, we're going to go over how the Feast of Shabuah is also of high importance during the Jubilee. And then we're going to go over something I think that everyone would like to know. So we're going to talk about some of the original diets of the Jubilee. And then we're going to talk about demons during the Jubilee and what to expect from the fallen. Because the Most High want to give it to you, but since the very beginning of time, Satan didn't want us to have no blessing. So it's important you understand that with blessings from the Most High, Satan is going to try and accuse you, and it's more than what you think. So, with that being said, brothers and sisters, this is part 1. This is part 1 of the Jubilee, the promise of return. I love you.